and thank you to the Georgia Asian Times for having me. My name is KMT Ashling. I am a 1988 refugee from Vietnam, right? I came to U.S. when I was 8 years old. Prior to that, I was born in a hut in the south side of Vietnam. It's like so south, you gotta take a canoe to get from point A to point B because it's way down the delta. And when I was maybe 5 or 6, my dad moved us to the city because we were so isolated down there. There was like a cat clock on the wall and it was going mail, and I thought it was, I asked my dad, what was that? And then he realized, oh my God, I didn't know anything. and so, my dad realized that we need to, move and try to get to America because he was in the Vietnam War and he couldn't leave right after the fall of Vietnam in 75 because if he left then he would have left my mom.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And so he waited until my sister and I got a little bit bigger to try to escape. And, during that time it was so hard that you can tell everybody was dying and getting drowned, and the fleeing out of Vietnam was like a major humanitarian crisis.
So you can relate to the situation in Kabul and in Afghanistan.
Yeah, absolutely. Their situation is worse because they're kind of landlocked, right? And so my dad saw people dying on the boats and he said, well, maybe we should try a land route, right? So we tracked through Cambodia for a month on foot and at night and whatever. Like we hired somebody to kind of lead us through for a month before we made it to the Thai refugee camp.
Wow.
And then my dad was separated because at the very end he's like, okay, you take my wife and my daughters, to the refugee camp. When they get there, send word back that they made it, and then I'll pay you guys, right? And that would kind of like guarantee some safety. And so we were 6 months in the Thai refugee camp, and then once we were accepted to the United States, because my aunt worked for the government during the Vietnam War, we made it to the Philippine refugee camp, and that's where you get there. That means you get accepted somewhere. Either to Canada, France, the United States, Australia, somewhere somebody was gonna take you. and only in the Philippines did I started having like childhood memories, because I think it was all gone. I think my brain blocked it all out because it was just a dramatic experience.
Wow.
I was very quiet, right? And whatever they told me to do, I just did because I knew we were in like a...
So when you first landed in the U.S.,
We landed in Norcross, Georgia.
Norcross?
Yes, because my aunt lived there off of Spalding.
I see.
So Gwinnett County is really, truly my turf. If anybody ever...
Interesting.
Yeah.
So speaking of your turf, how do you get involved with all this activism work that you do? What inspired you, Kim?
I think growing up in the Vietnamese culture, I've seen the disempowerment of women in like a patriarch society, where we're supposed to be just cooking and cleaning, taking care of kids. But we can be so much more than that. And I feel like a lot of our voices have been suppressed, and I think maybe that's why I feel like if my parents moved me all the way over to the United States for this freedom and this freedom of speech, shouldn't I be able to say stuff and do things, right? And so when I see a lot of our society chipping that away from people, I feel we gotta fight for it. Because I'm still fighting for the ideals of what America is. I want freedom for everybody, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. I was taught racism was wrong and the United States was built on this foundation. I need that to be like reaffirmed and reestablished. If that's who we are, we need to be who we are. We haven't been who we are.
So do you still subscribe to that every day you wake up in the morning?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I think we gotta stand up for other people too, and not just be selfish and think, but I'm fine, so then everybody else should be fine too. I'm successful. Why aren't everybody else successful? You know, I could take that road, that path of thinking, but I don't because I know better. Like people have had multi-generational, you know, difficulties and cycles of poverty. They've had an entire institution bent on keeping them down. There's a lot of other challenges that people face that we, sometimes Asian Americans, don't necessarily face. So that has, you know, got me thinking about who we are, why we need to help other people.
You have actually started a political action committee fund. It's the Georgia Advancing Progress Progress PAC to support AAPI candidates for the local and state elections. Can you share with us some background about that and how it evolves into the Asian American Action Fund?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people know or some people don't, but I came out of the nonprofit space, right? I used to be a nonpartisan civic engagement type. I was an OCA board member for a long time. I started when I was like 24. I was like the youngest person they let me on board. But I've learned then that you know, if we're constantly trying to get people to vote and we want people to get registered and we want people to have a voice, we need to give them more motivation to go out and vote and to have themselves be seen in the civic process we're trying to get them engaged in. And we all know that there's a gap in Asian American representation on the government level. You know, back then we had like BJ, and he was a state rep. He wasn't a general, attorney. He wasn't big time, and I don't think we had much of anybody else doing anything. And so then I knew we need an Asian American PAC to kind of help support the candidates. And back in the day, this is an interesting story. So BJ, myself, Balki, and Han Choi. Yes, we're like, let's go meet. Let's start a PAC. You know, we might be of different political leanings, but we know that we need more Asian Americans in politics, right? And initially, I was going to go and do it with them, and we had a name. We started incorporating. BJ had a PAC attorney, do whatever, but then the whole time I was like, how is this going to work? Because you guys are not going to want to fund my candidates. I'm like, okay. I think we just need to have a Republican PAC and then like a progressive PAC. And so I said, you guys take this PAC, take it as the Republican PAC. And because, their strategy is also different than my strategy. Their strategy is like, we're going to be behind the scene, like the invisible Asian PAC that will do stuff. And I'm not for that. I'm like in your face, you will know what I think about you. And everybody else will know too, right? And we will campaign that way. We use social media, will be, very visible. And then with that, I'm like, okay, I need to call my progressive people. And so I called Lonnie. I didn't know she was of that even strong political leaning because Lonnie was like also in the closet about how she really felt. But not anymore, right? Nobody's confused now. So I called Lonnie, I called Bonnie, and then Lonnie knew some friend Maggie and Nellie, and so I dragged some more of Lonnie's people in on this, and we had the Asian, an Asian PAC, the Georgia Advancing Progress PAC.
So you started with a core group of people,
Yeah.
and then it grew from there. Yeah.
Yeah, it grew from there, and you know, and back then we didn't know how to campaign. We're like, okay, we're just gonna have a PAC. We're just gonna pool money. We're gonna write checks. Easy enough. Everybody can do that. No one's gonna like spend days on this. And initially, that's what we did. We pooled money and we wrote checks. But then in 2018, so we started in 2017. As you know, but the idea came right after Trump
The
won.
works that you have done for the past 24 months, if there is an area that you could revisit or could go back in time and redo it, what would be that one thing that you will really change and do better?
You know, I don't think I would change anything because we were successful, but there are things we could do better, absolutely.
Yeah.
One is our planning, because I could not see ahead to figure out what we were doing. I was doing stuff when I saw there was a need. So where there was a fire, I would go there. And then when that fire was out and done, and there's another fire somewhere else, I would go there.
So you don't have a strategic plan in place.
No.
when you launch your effort, so to speak.
You're right. Okay. So, like when I started doing Marvin's campaign, we had COVID, and that was also, okay, what do we do, right? I couldn't plan for that. And we used to canvass a lot, but we couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Luckily, we got a lot of that done beforehand. And then when we got to the general election, I would say a great thing that was really helpful is that I had so many different hats, right? I had a bunch of hats, and I would change hat depending on what we needed. So I would have liked more hats, and I would have liked more people that was on the same page with me, so there was another person or more help. But that came more during the Senate race, right? So I think because maybe I inspired some more people, they're like, okay, Cam, what do you want? We'll just do it. I'm like, thank you. I don't want you to ask me, why, just do it. Trust in the leadership, right? Yeah, so...
That's good that you inspire especially the young Asian Americans to be involved in the political process. I mean, going forward, what do you think that needs to be done to get them engaged more from your perspective?
One great thing that's happening is there's more funding in the space for Asian American political work. Right. Mm-hmm. So now we see campaigns talking about, do we need an AAPI constituency director? Because some of us apparently questioned that for a while, right?
Really?
Yes. And they're like, well, we can cover that space. It's like 3-4% of the population, but no, you can't. You got to have somebody from the community do it, because it's a complicated space. It's not a group of one. It's like a group of 20 different types of voters.
Yes.
With different issues, with different challenges.
It's just also because most mainstream folks don't understand what Asian American community consists of. We are actually in Metro Atlanta and in Georgia consists of over 28 different ethnic groups, and we all comes from Asia, but we all speak different languages, different heritage,
yes,
different culture, different food that we like, and
different colors that we respond to.
Exactly.
I mean, seriously, and this
yes.
this is a thing with running political ads. Are you using the right color? Are you offending somebody? You don't know, right?
Yes.
And even in the translation of Asian languages, political consultant firms mess up because they will put something in one format. The moment they print it out and put it something to go into printing, some of the characters got changed and they have no idea.
Yes.
So, there's a space for Asian Americans, there's a space for young Asian Americans to get into, as we're going forward, we're inviting more young people to be part of the process, and at our internal table, even at the AAPI caucus, advancing justice, they're hiring young people all the time. The Asian American Action Fund locally is doing a phenomenal job. So, and then the people are volunteering to work on campaigns, and this kind of gives us the pipeline we need for people to transition. So not only do we need elected, we need political operatives that are Asian Americans.
You're sharing this wide open, so your opposing party might be just taking a page from your playbook.
But they can't do it. It's not.
No, I
it's
don't
not
think
hard to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I don't think it's a secret. This is what you're saying.
It's not a secret.
Yeah.
How you do this is not a secret. It's how you connect to people and execute. Can you turn out your voters?
Why do you think the young voters are leaning towards the progressive message?
Because there are certain issues young people care about, and those issues are more democratic issues for them. Climate change. Who believes in climate change? The Democrats. Who wants to protect the environment? The Democrats. Who wants to destroy the environment and not care? The Republicans. Okay, one easy divide. Okay, the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, Asian people, especially young Asian people, have black friends. We also have gay friends, right? Who is acknowledging the racism against our black friends and our gay friends? The Democrats. Who is trying to reduce their rights, deny that they are facing murders and unlawful death? The Republicans. Easy stuff.
Well, take for example the Atlanta spa shooting during the protests or near the Capitol. It's clearly exemplary of how the turnout, who turned out, and you see there's a huge amount of young activists that show up.
Yeah.
And voice out their displeasure about what's going on at the rally.
Yeah. That was a great moment in Asian American activism, and like solidarity with other communities of colors, right? And we see from like the census now how that is becoming a very powerful voting bloc, right? And if we live here, we suffer here if we don't care.
So what do you think of the outcome of the census with the political gerrymandering that is taking place or about to take place as we speak?
Yeah, it is definitely a major problem. It's part of their entire voter suppression plan. Now that we've won twice in two major elections, and they have now an opportunity to pick their voters instead of the voters picking their elected officials. They're going to redraw the map and make it easier for them to win. They're going to have like 8 shaped districts that make no sense, but that's who they want to, lump together.
So do you have a strategy to counter that? I mean, going forward?
We can keep an eye on them and we can keep screaming about it. I don't know if there's a whole lot of legislative ways to stop that legally from happening, because the party in control is going to have the right to draw the lines. We can always go to court about it, and we go and we do. We've been fighting the Senate Bill 202, the Georgia Advancing Progress Pact. We've worked very closely with another nonprofit, the Coalition for Good Governance, for election integrity issues, because not only do we have to go and run campaigns, we also have to do civil rights stuff. Like, why do we have to do that? but we do because we're in Georgia, and we used to think, oh, Georgia back in the day was racist and was beating up black people when they were trying to vote and sending them, to other poll sites 20 miles away. But guess what? Well, that's happening again.
So as all this evolve in the coming months, how does a young person who is inspired by what they just saw in this video join your movement or join what you're doing?
Volunteer with us.
How do they sign up? I mean, is there a venue or a website or?
Yeah, okay, so if people who want to just make a monetary contribution and start, this is one way, because we will also get your information that way. You can go to AAAfund.org and donate to the Georgia chapter. Okay, that's the Asian American Action Fund. At the GAT pack level, you can even Venmo us money. We'll take Venmo money.
Okay. So all they have to do is just go to Venmo and then type in GAT pack.
Yes, yeah. You can Venmo GAT pack money. You can text you and say you want to volunteer. You know what? We need help with social media stuff, website stuff, a lot of admin stuff that I don't want to do. I'm horrible, But we need a lot of support. And then if people want to be board members, for whatever reason, I might have scared off all board members. That's one thing I would do different. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, right before the election, I lost board members. I'm like, why? Maybe they were scared about what I was about to do. I don't know. So I also have a normal professional life. I do short-term rentals. I run a successful Airbnb operation. I also am a financial planner, so I do work as a advisor. And now and then, I might be a political consultant for somebody. Okay. Yes, but on the political work side, we are fighting hard against the Senate Bill 202. That still is an issue. And then Fulton County is under attack. My county right here, the Republicans are trying to set things up so they can take over the county.
To wrap this up, Cam, any closing remarks or anything that you'd like to share about yourself, and also maybe to inspire some young folks to join your campaign or your work?
Yeah, I need everybody to know voting is not enough. Okay, I need everybody to get off their phone for a little bit and think about what you want to do to help us protect what you love. If you do not care, you will not have an opportunity to care because it will be gone later. Okay, so start small. You can just volunteer on a campaign, go canvassing somewhere, make a donation to political candidate here and there, make a social post about something political that you care about. We can't be afraid to share what we think because other people need to feel validated that they're not alone. Because for a long time, Democrats have been very quiet because we feel like we've been in a red state or something. And if we say something, our business is going to be impacted negatively. And we got to overcome that because certain political parties have used business and politics as one to propel themselves. So why do we think that we can't have a political voice and successfully run a business? We can't, and so young people, business owners, everybody needs to reevaluate who you are in this community. You are a very important person in this community. If I, as a person of one, can do all this stuff, you can do just as much or more than me. So I need people to feel empowered so that our momentum doesn't die and that we don't get crushed by this voter suppression that's coming on, to get us now.
Well, with that, thank you, Cam, and best wishes and good luck with your endeavor. And we will be watching you from far and continue to monitor your progress. And thank you for your time.